here we go. So this is John and Will in conversation. So John is a fingerstyle singer-songwriter who's just released a new album, Neurodivergent. Also runs a podcast and is building an online community and a movement for neurodivergent musicians. So we thought we'd have a conversation about the album and the vision and the mission for this movement. So my first question to kick this off would be, John, what is the mission?
The mission is it's from my personal experience to now lived experience as a neurodivergent musician. For 20 years, I was a musician. That was my special interest. The last 3 years, discovering I have ADHD and autism. I found out I had dyslexia back in uni, but neurodivergent is not my identity, but it's become so much a part of me and synergized that I felt, and I was almost told, that you can process it for yourself. You need to pay it forward. You need to do it in some way. That's what I was told when I was doing this. There's a whole background to this, but the way this started, I went into a mental health crisis, and post-health mental health crisis, I had an assessment. I was told at the end of this with ADHD and autism. So it's like mental health crisis. Then you had an identity crisis, and I'm like, okay, now I'm like in caterpillar soup. What I call it, just mesh. Didn't really know my body and mind. At the tips of my fingers, there's this, I think I was telling you, but like there felt like there was energy there. There's no energy elsewhere, but there was still in my fingers. That had been there for 30 years. When you know, as a musician, you've got that muscle memory. It doesn't go away. You can have your eyes closed. So I just started picking up my guitar, and I was obviously doing what a lot of people at the moment, a lot of late diagnosed people, and this is later in life, you start to hyper focus on everything that is about this thing, right? You found something that's been missing from your whole life that you weren't aware of. No one picked up on, didn't say this. I had no idea what these things were. And then you're like, drop down. And so started building this music, and I started, right, I'm going to process this through my guitar, because it's all, I call it like guitar therapist. Her name's Luna. So I always go to it almost saying, how am I feeling? I didn't have any idea to build an album or to build a podcast or to build a community. That was not then. I was just trying to prepare myself. But what if I didn't keep it all in my head, and I just then process this through some kind of creative energy? So I put it into the album, which obviously we can go into more. And then I was like, that's great. I want to talk about it. I want to verbalize this. I always felt like I used to close up when I was around people. I felt as soon as the mental health crisis, the mask came off. I had a mask for about 20 years, really heavy. It's like walking through water with armor when you're trying to be someone else, right? And you can imagine that. You're just like space with like putting down your boots and stuff. That's what it felt like in every single social situation, even like like real close people. Like, why am I pretending to be someone else? You don't know this until you realize it. But when you've taken the mask off, which happened obviously in recovery, I felt like there was this old, like 40-year-old John who's been wrinkled in a bath water and stuff as well. Kind of the analogy, right? I don't know if you've seen Harry Potter, the Goblet of Fire, but it's when Voldemort's in like this most horrible state. I'm not saying I'm Voldemort, but I'm like there's this raw state that he has to then bring himself back to life. And that's kind of what I saw this John, if you were to visualize it. I'm like, I have not been looking after this guy whatsoever. And obviously all my inner children need to be reparented. And my nervous system broken to pieces. Anyway, all of these things. So you then go on this quest. It's almost like you've been given, right, John, you've been given a quest now, like, Frodo or Bilbo from Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and stuff as well. You need to go and battle the dragon or take the ring to the mountain stuff. And that is getting myself to recover for my family, obviously, first off, because I need to provide for my family. I'm a father. I don't want to be stuck in bed or on the floor or just like I can barely get to the shower. You know, people know this after post-surgery and stuff as well. And what I'm probably doing now, I'm painting a visualization. This is what I do in language rather than kind of succinct bullet points and trailers. It's like I always love to paint a context and a story behind it. And that's how the album began. It's like, I don't want to tell this in linear information type ways. I want to explore something like a concept, which is like, this, I think it was like 6 months in, like music started to form. And I released 5 albums in the past. So there was obviously this, you know, writing there, this golden reign of songwriting I've never had in my life, man, just materialized. I was like, is that what happens when you take all the weights off and all the stuff, the mask off? Like, I thought I had to tap into darkness to get my songwriting, but what if I tapped into something completely different? And anyway, this I sort of feel like with musicians and songwriting, we can keep it to ourselves. We're like, that's my song. I'm like, and I've recently believed, I'm like, no, I've been given this gift to be able to go and give to other people. And I had it with songs in the past. One of my tracks helped a young boy in his teens help get through bereavement of his parents. And he messaged me to say this track helped him. Wow, bigger than money. I had a nurse in Norway say she worked in a psychiatric ward with mental health patients and stuff. And my track, Lost at Sea, she wanted the lyrics and stuff because she wanted to share with these patients. I'm like, these are things, there's something massively profound here. And I'm not doing it deliberately. So anyway, with the album, there was a sense.
Sorry, John. I'm gonna jump in here.
You are, yeah. You need to. I'll go to the end of the.
We might risk running over some gold. Hearing what you're saying there, that people are having an experience when they connect with your music, and you've got examples. Kind of like when a coach talks about their client stories, you've got
validation. Well, not validation. It's like, actually, it's unexpected.
Sure.
As well.
What I really want to just it's like we're on a bus and we've hit a bus stop. I just want to jump off for a couple of minutes.
This is just a side quest, we call it, the ADHD.
Yeah, side quest. What's on offer for people when they connect with your music? What's on offer? What's available to them?
So I think when you come across a new artist, you come across a new song, right? Have you ever shuffled, like, or asked spot or one of the streaming platforms, just to find a new track? You know, sometimes it can do, and you come across this, you're like, where has this been? Where has this been my whole life? Right? Have you ever heard Jupiter by Holst? So the Planet Suite and stuff like classical, right? Mm-hmm. Jupiter is my piece of my life. It represents me. I don't know why. It has the hymn in the middle, whichever that's what. But the whole 8 minutes is the chaos. It goes into so many different things, like the conversations now. And I heard that. When I hear it every single time, it evokes an emotion. I have tears. I'm like, nothing else in my life does that on repeat over and over, apart from my children, obviously. But as in like this kind of energy, this sort of thing you can't see, the sense. So what I'm offering here is, now it's not for everybody. They might not like you could have done that in jazz, or you could have done that, like, yeah, that's fine. That's subjective. And the way you process this, and every neurodivergent could probably process it in whatever medium or whatever genre and stuff. So that's not what it's about. I never had any intentions of what it was. But even the response I've had so far with the album has been like, this is different. There's an energy here. Like the single tracks I had in the past, when you've got 12 tracks, those almost like those single tracks in the past were one that could have been part of a set or part of a whole journey. They captured one little part of it. And that's what was this album. It's like, if you join me on this quest, and like we were talking about, actually, when you listen to a song or you listen to an album, You listen with it with, I've got my boundaries up. I'm going to analyze this. I'm going to be there, like, you know, the professor or the critic. That's what we do when sometimes we listen to an album for the first time. But it's kind of what I'm asking people. What if you went in with curious awareness and you went with compassion in a completely different light? Take away our egos and things like that, and you sit with it. There's a sense of here, the first listen is the entertainment. You'll get the vibes, you'll get the emotions, oh right, you might do, you might not, right? Obviously, I'm not painting that. The second time listen, if you are neurodivergent or you are exploring, could I be neurodivergent? Everything I'm hearing at the moment seems to just like validate, like a checklist. You're like, as soon as I saw the checklist, by the way, of these conditions and the symptoms, I went tick, 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 tick. Like, shit, where was this questionnaire? Where was this list I've never had in my life? And it just validated. So it's another way. The second listen is like education, validation. It could be validation. And you might then sit with it and process it away from the music, because this is what I was talking about. The message is bigger than the music here, even though that the music's profound. I created it. It's the first. So the third listen, I feel, if you take the lyrics and maybe some things that connect it. So like the end of one song, Rivers of Gold. If you find your internal light, it will give you eternal life. And that's not time and length. That is your light, who you are really at your being and core will radiate around everybody. And then that can last for generations. It can bleed into your children and grandchildren and carry on, because I broke cycles of what happened in the past. So this album is also a way of breaking stigma, breaking negativity around it and stuff, which is, you know, we all have a lot about neurodivergence, feel very vulnerable because you're just like the media or this and stuff, or like everybody's got it. And it's just like, no, you don't realize the life threatening side of it if it gets untreated and things. So I'm shining a light in my way, that I've heard content, I've looked at podcasts, I've got my own podcast obviously as well, I've looked at books and stuff, and they were all great, but I was like, they're those kind of, that's a different kind of energy to what music and art. When you look at if you looked at a painting of neurodiversity and you were neurodivergent and you went, it's just like looking at a mirror, and you heard an album like this that just no, you might feel around, like they might have people around them, family, they might have friends, that they're not openly able to talk about this really super vulnerable and important part of themselves. And then you listen to something, and in 1 hour, you have felt more seen, more heard, more validated, more loved, for not for this part of you. Because maybe the ADHD and autism, like I was told by some people, well, at least you know now. I'm like, is that it? Oh, so you don't want to know, you don't want to ask me any more questions, you don't want to find out how hard it was without knowing this and where I've been and stuff. It's almost like, oh, okay. And then you get that real loss, real grief, real sadness, that I'm like, oh, do I have to put the mask back on for you to, or they've got comfortable with the masked person. And when you take your mask off, it's almost like not an acceptance. There's not an embrace. There's more like, there is in the neurodivergent world. If you once you know it and you take the mask off, more often than not, your neurodivergent traits get worse because you're not suppressing them anymore. But on the external side, that's what people pick up on. They just pick up on things going wrong rather than the things you're doing right. So what I'm trying to showcase here, the first half of the album, yes, it's the struggles, and it can be incredibly disabling without treatment and management and awareness and education. The second half of the album is, what if it was different? What if you flicked over to the other side? What if you could get your true potential? What if there was something else? A light. I know we talk about light at the end of a tunnel. There's all sorts of analogies to it. But I really do feel, when I had the album, it was the first time I finished an album, I was like, I don't want to change it. No musician can ever feel like that. Now, there's little things, obviously, here and there, or you listen, you can do that, whatever it's. But I was like, this feels so complete. But it's a complete for my journey. I feel like I've now got treated, and I'm like, right, almost neurodiversity for myself is not my special subject, like interest anymore. I feel really content with it, which is like flipping out. What I'm interested in now is, well, what if I can get others to this point?
Right. And there's something that you said a couple of minutes ago that, again, I want to pull the bus over and get off at that bus.
Yeah.
A powerful artist, and when I use the term artist, and of course it isn't just about an artist as we understand it. I'm also referring to a coach, a teacher,
right? Which is an artist. They are. If you're creatively, like, it's creative. Well, I call it creative energy. So I think we're all artists in some ways, right?
So the term really is interchangeable. This is a human thing. The ability to help other people see and hear themselves. And you mentioned a couple of minutes ago holding a mirror up to people. So my original question was, what is on offer for people? What is the service here? What's on offer? What's on offer to people when they engage with your music, with this album? I think one of the most powerful things that an artist or a coach or a human can do is help someone hear and see themselves. And I'm reminded of a story that my friend told me. She went on tour with a band, and the album that they were touring to support was effectively a grief album. So the singer had lost her mum a few months before the tour, wrote this album. They went out and toured it for 5 weeks. And there's one particular song that they will only perform on that tour because it is of the moment, that is specifically about the relationship and the loss. And there were people in the audience every night, my friend told me, that were crying. And it struck me that they're not crying because they're grieving the singer's mother. They're crying because everyone knows, even if you haven't lost someone in terms of them moving on, everyone understands loss. Everyone has grieved and mourned at some point, whether it's an old version of ourselves, whether it's a relationship, whether it is indeed someone has passed away. We have all grieved. And what struck me was the power of music as a medium that we understand as musicians, and yourself as a singer-songwriter.
Everyone, and if you treated it like a sense, like there's a smell and our hearing and I feel like it's almost like music is the sixth sense. I know it's through hearing, but it doesn't just go in like like listening to like traffic and stuff as well. That just goes in and goes out one or the other. It goes in and then fills up the whole body. You are teleported to. This is what fantasy. That's what Lord of the Rings is. Every time I watch it every single year, I'm like, right, phone's there, everything's there, because I'm going to be like, kids, you're going to have to go and stay away. No, really. They will get to a point where they can sit with me. But the thing is, there's this. Like we know with music, if you connect on a deeper level with it, and it's not just about numbers, metrics, and trends and charts. It's about authentic. That's why this authentic music, authentic art. Like you just said, it's not. So there might be some mainstream music that can connect to people, and they have it at weddings. I've played it and stuff with cover bands. We know. But when you, instead of turning the torch on, I'm going to use another artist's music to be able to evoke that motion, and you turn the torch inwards and you go, no, I'm going to write what I think, and there's something like, I've always obviously loved the thought of someone singing my lyrics live. And I think that's kind of like when people, you've heard it, you've seen concerts and stuff as well. But I think it's because that song has maybe hit them at a certain point of their life where our music taste, for instance, I think there's something psychologically, it sort of starts in our teens and ends in like our early 20s. And that's what our music is for life, apparently. We can explore new music, but we're still stuck in there. The reason is because those times of our life, we had space we weren't compounded with all the live stuff, and we absorbed it. But we would listen to those albums, like I said, Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd, is what my dad played in the car over and over and over, right? And I thought, oh, what is this about? Until I listened to it over, it's my favorite album of all time, and it's about human complexity. Funny enough, but human complexity is just like, well, why do you just write something about human complexity in a way that complex can sometimes be a negative word? Oh, you're too complex. Oh no, you're too much. Like, that's what if it's like, no, actually complex can be kaleidoscopic. You've instead of your torch that points here, from I call it neurodivergence, see and hear in stereo, if you want a music term. Everyone else can see in mono. And we know with music, I don't want to be listening in mono. I want to hear everything 360 and stuff. So why can't that work in life? You know, when I go to a restaurant, I can hear your conversation. I can hear the waiter, the clink, and everything, all in stereo at the same time. It's overloading. So it's one of those where, like we were talking about, for you to, when you've got the mirror that's pointing back at you, it's like, instead of seeing the torch where, oh, I struggle in that external struggle, like that's what's causing this. I just want to be myself, and it's the external that is creating all the problems for me.
The outside in.
The outside in. So this album is another way of pointing the torch inwards and going, what if you're getting triggered and it's not to do with them? It's physical. What's physical here? Well, you might have a broken nervous system. You might have a broken inner child that you need to reparent. You might need to go back to core elemental beliefs. And like the analogy is, they are roots and you need to bloody dig them up. Or it might be a plug, right? Like a bath plug. That at the bottom of that, you pull the plug out and all the mud just comes out. And then you might feel numb or hollow for a while, but you've now got this cavern that you're like, I've never had this before. And then you can then build up your support, your structures around this cavern. Again, this is visualization. Because I don't like to put it in scientific terms or like I paint a picture. The structures around the internal cavern, in my time we were like, it's such a beautiful thing to think about, is your management, your awareness, your education, your support network of a coach or a therapist or the support worker, or your treatment triangle of physical health, mental health, and medicinal, right? Some people, as soon as they get ADHD, I need to get the meds, that's going to fix me. It's just, no, you need to spread it out like stereo. You know, one thing is not going to solve the thing. You also have to acceptance that this is part of you for the rest of your life. So there's a whole transformation process that you will go through if you allow yourself to, if you give your permission and the opportunity and be open, which is probably what I'm giving the gift people. I'm like, I want to give you the gift of opening up this door and possibility to who you could actually be.
Right. Let's get off at this bus stop. Really powerful.
You're bringing out the
That's really powerful what you just said. I want to give people the gift, the opportunity, the chance to understand.
Which is like coaching, right? That's the element you want. I don't like, because neurodiversity, and also I think a lot of people tag it right. I'm not ADHD John. I'm not autistic John. I'm not dyslexic John. A lot of people, it's almost like they put, like when we get a degree and then we have like, I used to put BA honors after my name for a while. I was like, what am I doing? I'm not BA honors. That's not who I am. It's like, I am John. That's who I am.
Right. And this is what I was pointing to. And it sounds to me like throughout across all of your mediums, your podcast, this album that you've released, the community and the movement that you're growing, you are pointing in a direction that you yourself have begun. You yourself have turned to. You are walking that walk, and you want to point in that direction for other people. And it's only ever an offering. It's only ever the offer to look this way.
Yeah,
and
it's not
away from the very commonly accepted outside in, and instead reverse engineering It's inside out.
in a visual way, in a different medium to anything. Because we know, obviously, like Steve Chandler, like they're books and audiobooks, which are great, and we can consume it and we can process them. But we know music can get to areas of your body that nothing, that talking and books can't. That's the powerful thing. And I was like, I was not writing and going, I am going to create a profound piece that's going to connect to different. I'm like, no, I'm like, that's just go away, ego. I'll play with you when I need to speak to the right person. You know, we can control. This is like, we know the power of Nick Bettina. And when we're talking like when we've done creative recharges, and I love the snow globe and things as well. I felt like a lot of neurodivergents are caught in the middle of the snow globe. Their feelings, emotions, thoughts, everything. It's like, and with an ADHD brain, you have 20 different thoughts going on at the same time. If you listen to every single one and you jump on every single one, it's going to pull you apart. So no wonder we don't know who we are. So it's like, oh, actually, what if you stepped out the snow globe and you took control of the snow globe and then you allowed the snow to settle? You might, for the first time in your life, go, I don't need anything external. Everything I have in my life is here. Like my inspiration now is not like you hear like albums. It's all about heartache, and which you get, and it's fine. It's all about love and everything. And love is an energy, right? What if instead of exploring space and exploring innovation and all this, which is external, this is the biggest thing that you could write about for the rest of your life? Because it's just never ending. And I never thought like this before. It was all external. It was always like, I need to get to that point. I need to get to that destination. We all did it as guitarists. I need to be like the best rock guitarist to be fulfilled. And we know when we kind of got to the point where you move from learning, this is an important thing as well. I teach my pupils. When you're in learning mode constantly, you're in your head, you're doing. It's that it feels like a doing sort of thing. Until you can get to the point where you're playing, in guitar analogy, where you can close your eyes and bop your head. Right? There's expression, there's exploration. You then feel fulfilled that you've got enough technique, enough theory for now. And then you can you can just drip feed it for the rest of your life. Or you can just take it in, whatever it is. What if that's how we are as humans? Like sometimes some people I know will be like, it's very fixed. No. If I go down this, then I'm going to get worse. It's like some people like they think they go to therapy or they go to coaching. No. If I open up channels, it's going to be different, and different is scary and really fear. And this, I wanted to paint something that you can listen to and still have those thoughts and feelings of fear and doubt, but question it, be curious about it, rather than when someone tells you you've got fear and doubt, you can either go two ways. Sometimes that can create more fear and doubt, or if they're really open, they can open up to it. You can only meet someone at the point in their life with the experience and knowledge and stuff that they've got. You can't, like you can't. It's almost like you can't turn something gold without obviously then going for their own awareness and stuff. If they've got no awareness, or they might not even want to, and that's absolutely fine as well. All I'm doing probably is just like, I'm going to shine a light on a different area, but in a different way.
And that is all we can ever do. We're telling isn't effective, and in many ways it risks infantilizing and keeping people in the outside in, understand.
It's perception, isn't it?
Somebody else has the answers. Somebody else will come into my life and help me. This person knows what to do. But if you keep people stuck in that, and you're telling them and instructing them and advising them, you're not holding a space. What I'm hearing is you want to give people the experience of space, clarity, and a direction to explore at their own, for want of a better phrase, at their own leisure, at their own pace.
Just give me an hour of your time. That's it. Give me an hour. Like, not even me. Give this an hour of your time. And the pre-frame is, do it in an environment you feel safe, you feel loved, right? I'm on a journey now, and this is what I also want to share the power of, like, because sometimes you need role models, or you need like, okay, like we know in music industry, it's just like, how do I get to that person so he can meet that person? It's like, that's the wrong approach. Like you need to be able to go to that person and make a really deep connection with, like you are brothers, friends, whatever it's and stuff. Not to, I don't want to be a go. I'm sorry, I don't want to be a go-getter. It's like that's my point of the album as well. I don't want to go in. Oh, I get massive benefit and stuff as well. There's something just about this that, you know, I have my own, you know, I only have my knowledge and experience, and that's all I have up until this point of my life. And I don't have um I don't have this expert professor and stuff as well for me to be able to give you advice, for me to be able to go, you know, you haven't given me permission to do that. I'm not, and that's what I'm saying. So it's also trying to find a way of finding Alexa. We find it in books, actually. That's why I like fantasy books. Sometimes I read fantasy books because it's not factual, but I learned so much out of that fantasy book about myself. So if you imagine you put it into a concept of art, you can go to an art gallery and look at a painting and learn more about yourself than you would have done from a book. So yeah, there's so many things layered up to it. But I think what at one point I want to say, when I finished this album, which was probably like a few months ago.
John, I'm very quickly going to just jump in here. I have a call with Nick in 5 minutes.
Okay.
So that point you're going to make,
it shows the light going forward.
Yes, yeah, that's okay. What I really want to get in.
This now, the album is my past 3 years. I'm now moving into a space. So I just wrote a song that says, and it's internal mantra. It's about resetting my subconscious. And I have to tell myself multiple times a day, I approve of myself. I love myself. I empower myself. I light myself up. And it's resetting my subconscious. There's psychology, there's science behind it, right? The podcast is what I'm carrying on. But now, instead of solo episodes, when I was going through the process, I with guests, and we're sharing our own sort of journey with it. The community, though, is where people can come. They don't have to explain themselves as a musician. They don't have to explain themselves as neurodivergent. That's the thing. If you get that bandwidth and you have to explain yourself every time before you enter, you don't feel seen, heard, or validated. You just feel safe. Then you can open up, and then you're open to possibility and whatever is there. So we're just holding a space for people every week, every fortnight. And then there will be other things that come out down the line, but it's very authentic. It's very organic, because I've been in communities like we've been in, and the power of once you open up, I'm like, right, I'm now open up. I'm going to just present myself. And you're like Nick and other people have given me that space. And that's what coaches do. And that's what I've taken influence from and inspiration to be able to go, this journey is going to happen. This is not the end of your journey by the end of 3 years, what I've gone through. I feel like I'm on the start now. Right? As myself as John being. You get to that point, then you've then got possibility and opportunity for the rest of your life. Like, I'm so excited for the next half of my life. I've never been like that before. So that's probably a way to wrap it up with that.
Amazing. John, thank you so much for sharing everything. We will post this up, and we'll get some links up. Yeah. Links to your podcast, links to the album, and links to the community, ways that people can get involved.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant, man. Such a pleasure, man. Always love talking to you, man.
Legend. Well done, mate.
Have a great one.
I'll drop you a message. Have a good one.
Speak soon.
Bye.